It is an announcement that continues to rock a Montgomery church and surrounding community. Good evening, everyone. I'm Valerie Lawson.
And I'm Mark Bullock. WSFA 12 News confirmed with church leaders, including Juan Demetrius McFarland himself, the now former pastor of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, that McFarland confessed from the pulpit a few Sundays ago that he had full-blown AIDS and had slept with church members without revealing he had AIDS.
Shocked and stunned church members contacted 12 News defender Tametria Conner. Tonight she gets reaction from a congregation still in disbelief.
Juan Demetrius McFarland did not hold back when he revealed to worshipers at Shiloh Baptist Church on September 14th that he contracted HIV in 2003 and discovered in 2008 he had AIDS.
The church was very accepting of Reverend McFarland. They were willing to help him in any way possible.
But once the pastor with 23 years of leadership started revealing more and more on the following Sundays, members and leaders say they realized McFarland had crossed the line. In a resolution read aloud at church, leaders shared and Pastor McFarland confirmed to us he admitted drug use, mishandling church funds, and what members say was the ultimate shocker, described by church deacon Nathan Williams Jr.
He concealed from the congregation of the church that he had knowingly engaged in adultery in the church building with female members of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church while knowingly having AIDS.
This past Sunday, McFarland was removed as church pastor. Still, church members say some congregation members are afraid to come forward, and many are concerned.
Who does this to people? And you're the leader. Who does this? I know a lady who is a member of the church who said she had slept with him and that she didn't want this to go public. And, she's running out now trying to find out, if there's anything wrong with her. And my heart goes out to her because she's been a wonderful, wonderful member of the church.
Deacon Williams says in his 70 years at the church, this is the biggest scandal the church has ever experienced. Williams says leaders have obtained legal counsel and is now focused on moving the church forward.
Our move is going to come directly from the council. We want peace, and we want to do the right thing legally. We're not looking to hurt him. We're looking to get the church back. That's our thing, to get the church back. That's what we want, to get the church back. And that's it.
But some members say they want justice.
I believe that he should be put on court and let the judge decide if he should go to jail or not.
And I spoke with Pastor McFarland on the phone after he made his announcement. He answered questions and confirmed everything he shared with his congregation. I also reached out to him again to get a comment after he was voted out as pastor on Sunday. However, he did not return my calls or my text messages. Montgomery police tell us transmitting a sexually transmitted disease is a Class C misdemeanor. At this time, no charges have been filed against Pastor McFarland. Deacon Williams and the members I spoke with on and off camera say they want to start the healing process and move forward with new leadership. Now, members are asking for prayers to lift up their church. Mark, Val?
Certainly. Thanks a lot, Tametria. McFarland also holds the position of moderator with the Alabama Middle District Baptist Association, which includes 34 churches across the state. Now, we reached out to the association leaders who say at this time there are no discussions to remove McFarland from his position. Right now on WSFA.com, you can find the full interviews from church members. Just look for this story. And of course, WSFA 12 News will continue to follow any developments concerning this story.
We continue to follow a local story that's now trending nationally. Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church minister Juan McFarland confessed to WSFA 12 News and from the pulpit a few Sundays ago that he has AIDS and has slept with church members without revealing he has AIDS. Of course, this is an epidemic that impacts millions around the world. Currently in Alabama, the African American population is disproportionately impacted by the HIV virus. Tonight, we hear what the church is doing to help and more details of what is now happening at the church. WSFA 12 News reporter Tametria Conner continues our exclusive coverage in tonight's 12 News Defenders Report.
Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church Deacon Chair Nathan Williams Jr. says these last few weeks have been a great challenge to the church.
Although the membership of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, removing and terminating Reverend Juan D. McFarland as pastor of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church immediately as of October 5th.
Williams says it was an 80-2 vote.
It's not a dictatorship, so we didn't need church back.
Williams says McFarland has changed the locks on the church and changed the church's bank account, leaving other church leaders without access. Now the church leaders are consulting with lawyers and the bank to figure out a solution.
Bought him out, and that's what we did. Now, from that point, we still not under advice from legal counsel.
Williams says since McFarland's confessional starting on September 14th, which included admitting to drug use, mishandling church funds, and admitting to knowingly having AIDS and sleeping with women in the church, leaders went to the Medical AIDS Outreach of Alabama for help.
We were just trying to seek help. We try and get people from the AIDS Outreach to come out and explain things to the church. You know what it meant. We want him to get well in due time, you know, but it just didn't turn out that way.
Medical AIDS Outreach of Alabama offered the church free educational workshops and testing. The organization released this statement saying in part, quote, "We would like to extend our compassion to those who may have been affected by the recent announcement made by a local church pastor. We are always saddened to hear of new incidences of HIV, and our heart to go out to all of those living with the virus. HIV and AIDS can affect anyone from any background, and we encourage everyone to get tested," end quote. Williams says with prayer, the church can be restored as they start the healing process. Williams says McFarland was silent after the vote. However, Montgomery police confirmed officers responded to a disturbance call of people refusing to leave the church. Officers cleared the call after the issue was resolved. Police did not have to remove anyone from the property, nor was anyone arrested. Williams and other members I spoke with say they expect Sunday service to be a normal worship service without McFarland in the pulpit. Mark?
All right, Tametria. Reverend McFarland did admit to WSFA 12 News that he uses drugs, mishandled church money, and slept with church members, knowing that he had AIDS and not revealing that fact. We reached out to him again today for additional comment, but got no response.
We continue to follow new developments in the situation at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. An attorney hired by the church has filed a lawsuit against its ousted pastor and asked him to remove himself from all aspects of the church's business and to turn over church property. WSFA 12 News reporter Tametria Conner broke this story last week. She's live in the newsroom with the very latest. Tametria.
Well, Val, it's clear this will be an ugly fight as church leaders try to force Juan McFarland to step down and realize that the majority of the members of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church no longer want him to lead the body. That's why a lawsuit was filed this morning. In it, there is a request for McFarland to turn over the keys, bank account, and access to a church-owned Mercedes-Benz. They also want a judge to enjoin both McFarland and a second defendant, identified as Mark Anthony Peacock, from acting in any official capacity of the church. Attorney Julian McPhillips, who is representing the church, says since the suit was just filed this morning, a hearing date has not been set. Two head church deacons and two Board of Trustees chairmen, including James Long, say the overall consensus is to restore the church and move forward without McFarland.
We're just trying to minister to the flock and get the church back in order. We wished it had not have happened this way, but at this point we see no alternative in order to implement the will of the congregation.
And it's just not the church who is asking him to step down, but several local and state clergy as well. Coming up on WSFA 12 News at 10, a one-on-one interview with the president of the Alabama State Missionary Baptist Convention Moderators Division. He'll explain how governing bodies are set within the Baptist Association. A lot of people have been asking, why can't he just be fired, or why is it so hard to remove him from office? Those answers are coming up tonight at 10. Val?
All right, we look forward to it. And right now, WSFA.com, you can find a copy of the lawsuit and 3 resolutions along with all the stories we've aired since the beginning. Just look for this story on the homepage.
Some new details now. Legal action underway against Juan McFarland, the disgraced pastor of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church who refuses to leave despite being voted out. McFarland admitted to his congregation and to WSFA 12 News that he had AIDS and had slept with church members without revealing that to them. He also admitted to drug use and the misuse of church funds. Attorneys on behalf of the church now filing a lawsuit today to have the pastor legally removed. And a new call tonight for McFarland to step down. A state Baptist clergy official says for the safety and reputation of the church body, the ousted pastor must go. Here's Tametria Conner with more on the story.
Reverend Cleveland McFarland Jr. is the president of the Alabama State Missionary Baptist Convention Moderators Division, which oversees more than 1,000 churches and 100 moderators statewide. Reverend Cleveland is begging one of those moderators, Juan McFarland, to peacefully step down and spare Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church and the association from further harm. He says he personally spoke with McFarland, who said he would fight it and not step down.
It is only the church that can put him out, kick him out, or what have you. The association, the president or whatever, can't kick him out because it is agreement with churches and their own accord that we make association, that we work together. We can only voice our opinion and only share what we feel that is right.
McFarland, who Reverend Cleveland has no relation to, is moderator of the Alabama Middle District Missionary Baptist Association, which includes about 34 churches. Reverend Cleveland says the association has discussed investigating McFarland's use or misuse of funds. McFarland has already admitted to mishandling Shiloh church funds, knowingly having AIDS and not sharing his status to the members he slept with inside the church, and drug use.
How do we help him? Because he needs help. And as Christians, that's what we want to do. We also want to help the church because they're going through a lot of pain and turmoil.
Reverend Cleveland says even though Juan McFarland took full responsibility for his actions, he admitted that he knowingly placed the lives of his congregation and community in danger, therefore forfeiting his ability to lead. Cleveland says he met with more than 50 local pastors this morning in Montgomery and leaders of the Middle District Missionary Baptist Association. They have prepared a letter asking McFarland to resign, and they will be presenting that letter to him soon. Collectively, they're saying something must be done to put this to rest. Reverend Cleveland says he hopes that no one gets hurt physically as a result of his refusal to step down. John, I first spoke with Juan McFarland during my initial investigation. So far, he hasn't returned any of my calls or texts since he was voted out and since this lawsuit was filed this morning.
All right, Tametria, thank you. And right now on WSFA.com, you can find the full interview and letter, a copy of that lawsuit and other documents, along with all of the stories that we have aired since this story broke.
New information tonight in the back and forth between a Montgomery church and its ousted pastor who refuses to step down. Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church voted to fire Pastor Juan McFarland after he admitted to having sex with church members and keeping secret the fact that he has AIDS. We just learned a hearing date has been set for a lawsuit that was filed by church members. WSFA 12 News reporter Tametria Conner is joining us live now with these new developments. And Tametria, this happened rather quickly.
Indeed, Mark. The injunction hearing is set set for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Church attorney Julian McPhillips says he believes the magnitude of this case is what got it on the books quickly. The suit is requesting the termination and removal of Juan McFarland from all aspects of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. That would include turning over the keys, bank account access, and the church-owned Mercedes-Benz. It also requests that Mark Peacock be removed from any official capacity with the church. McPhillips says both men have been served the lawsuit. Peacock has been served a notice to appear in court and plans to be there. The problem has been tracking down McFarland to serve him his notice to appear in court. Now McPhillips says the hearing could proceed without him being served. It's up to the judge and he will be Judge Price to proceed or to delay the hearing. WSFA 12 News will be at tomorrow's hearing with the latest developments. Mark?
Thanks for staying on the story for us, Tametria. Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church is a member of the National Baptist Convention. The president of that group is the latest to call for McFarland's resignation. More on that part of the story tonight at 10. Another new piece of information tonight. Many local, state, and national Baptist leaders now are pleading with Montgomery's Juan McFarland to peacefully step down from his church. Members voted him out as pastor of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church back on October 5th after some pretty shocking confessions. The back and forth between church leaders and McFarland will now have to be decided in court. WSFA 12 News reporter Tametria Conner has more.
Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church is a member of the National Baptist Convention. President-elect Dr. Jerry Young released this statement in part saying, "I hope and pray that Pastor McFarland would provide an opportunity for the church to make its will known in this matter in accordance with Baptist polity and the Word of God." McFarland admitted to having sex with church members and keeping secret the fact he has AIDS, mishandling funds, drug use, changing the locks, bank accounts, and leadership team.
And yet he's refused to step aside. You know, it's like he doesn't know or is not aware or whatever. And so we've had to resort to this step. It's the last resort.
Attorney Julian McPhillips will represent the church in court Thursday morning. The lawsuit claims McFarland passed a new church constitution in 2013, giving himself total control of the church. Only a few members were present.
They all thought it was wrong, and when it was discovered, and they took measures a couple of weeks ago to pass resolutions that did away with that constitution. Also, another resolution establishing who the Board of Deacons was and who was on it, and then a resolution terminating Pastor McFarland.
The suit also requests that Mark Peacock be removed from any official capacity with the church, claiming he threatened to shoot the deacon board if they return to the church. McPhillips says both Peacock and McFarland have been served the lawsuit. McPhillips says no attorney has contacted him on Juan McFarland's behalf, and he says it's been hard to track him down to serve him the notice to appear in court. However, Mark Peacock's attorney did make contact with McPhillips, and they plan to appear in court Thursday morning. McPhillips says the hearing could proceed without McFarland or his attorney. In the newsroom, Tametria Conner, WSFA 12 News.
Thanks, Tametria. Dr. Young of the National Baptist Convention says McFarland must surrender his personal interests for the good of Christ and his kingdom. WSFA 12 News will be at that hearing tomorrow morning. We will bring you the latest developments.
It's happening today, a court hearing surrounding the pastor who admitted to sleeping with members of his church while infected with AIDS. Church members have filed suit to have him removed. The hearing got underway this morning. Reporter Tametria Conner broke this story last Wednesday and is the only reporter to have spoken with McFarland during her investigation. She is live outside the courthouse for us. And Tametria, today was the first time the public got a glimpse of McFarland. What was the atmosphere like in that courtroom?
Well, Sally, the courtroom was packed, and Juan McFarland actually sat behind me on the back row, which was odd because the plaintiffs and the defendants were up front at their designated tables. Judge Charles Price had to actually call McFarland up, and that's when he came up to the front, and he sat next to the other defendant, which was Mark Peacock, who we now know is the parliamentary of the church, and he's also a board member. McFarland had no legal counsel. He was representing himself. He didn't say anything in the courtroom. Sally?
Tria, I understand that this was an injunction hearing and it lasted about an hour and a half. Tell us what happened today.
Right. Well, Judge Price made it clear that this was not his first case involving a church. Now, attorney Charles Anderson was representing Mark Peacock, and the judge immediately dismissed his attempt to dismiss the suit on the grounds that a court does not have jurisdiction in religious matters. Judge Price says, yes, they do, if the church can't resolve the issue on its own. And he said, obviously, this church can't. So the judge allowed 2 witnesses for each side to explain the suit and their position. Head Deacon Nathan Williams Jr. and Deacon Lee Sanders spoke on behalf of the church. Peacock spoke on his own behalf, and member Chauncey Ballard spoke for the defendants. Now, the 2 big questions are, was the church constitution valid that was passed last year? And now, who runs Shiloh Baptist Church? Reverend McFarland, would you like to say
You don't have
anything?
any comment, ma'am.
Any comment at all?
Come on, girl.
A lot of people have a lot of questions.
You don't have
Reverend
any comment.
McFarland. Is there anything that you want to say?
Let us by. Get out of the way.
Anything, anybody? Now, as you can see, McFarland has gone silent since we last spoke over the phone and via text a few weeks ago. Again, this is a preliminary hearing. This is not the disposition of this case. It's a ruling on the church's request for temporary injunctive relief from McFarland and Peacock. So court will reconvene at 1:30, and of course, we will be back in the courtroom to give you the latest development. Sally?
All right, and we will have the latest online and on First at 4 this afternoon.
Happening now.
Would you like to make any comment at all?
The pastor who admitted to sleeping with members of his church while infected with AIDS goes before a judge.
Victory for truth, justice, and Christian virtue, really.
We were inside the courtroom and live at the church as the pastor is ordered to hand over the keys.
The ousted pastor of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church has been ordered by a judge to turn over the keys to the church and other church property, something the disgraced church leader has refused to do since being voted out by the church. WSFA 12 News reporter Tametria Conner broke this story last week and spoke with Mon McFarland after he admitted to having AIDS and having sex with church members without telling this. She's joining us now from the church there on Kramer Avenue in Montgomery. And Tametria, the deadline for McFarland to meet this court order is less than an hour away now.
That's right, John, and I can tell you now, this is the church-owned Mercedes-Benz. As you can see, it has been returned to the church property. Now, if we could kind of zoom over here, we see some reporters are waiting as well for McFarland to come out. Also, this window here is McFarland's office. I do understand that some board members, Board of Trustees members, as well as some deacons are meeting with him right now, so he is here. Now, they did not confirm if he has yet turned in the church keys or if he made it to Wells Fargo and Regions before he came here. As you mentioned, the 5 o'clock deadline is approaching, and if he does not comply, he could be contempt of court. And also, after 5, a restraining order will be in effect. Now, as you mentioned, this was a victory. So simply put, the members of Shiloh Baptist Church have the church back. Now let's break down the ruling. It upholds the church resolutions that were passed by the deacon board. It also reaffirms who the church leaders are, and it reinstates the leaders that McFarland called himself removing. Most importantly, it upholds the vote of the church, which was to terminate McFarland after he caused what they say is the biggest scandal this church has ever seen. Church attorney Julian McPhillips says the judge made the right decision.
I mean, it's a pretty complete victory, really. Victory for truth, justice, and Christian virtue, really. And we're grateful for the judge's correct decision, and we're grateful that these gentlemen came to us.
And the other co-defendant in this suit, Mark Peacock, he actually resigned from the church in the middle of the hearing, so therefore he was automatically removed from this suit. John?
Tametria, I know you were in the courtroom this morning, and we saw that Juan McFarland was there also. What was his reaction to the judge's ruling today, and how are church members feeling about what's happened?
Well, I can tell you that he was silent in the courtroom, but of course when I tried to approach him afterwards to get a comment, he got physical, and he also still did not say anything. He had no comment. I can tell you that the courtroom was full of members, and I did not see a single person who was disappointed. Everyone was elated. People were crying tears of joy, lots of hugs, and some members were even chanting Happy Sunday. And John, coming up on WSFA 12 News at 5, we'll hear from those members, and also we'll tell you what's next for Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. John?
Okay, Tametria, thank you very much. If McFarland does not comply with the judge's order, another hearing has already been scheduled for December 1st at 9 a.m.
A victory for Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church today as a judge rules to have its pastor removed. I'm Valerie Lawson.
And I'm John O'Connor. Members of the church voted to remove Juan McFarland as pastor after he confessed to the congregation and to WSFA 12 News that he had slept with church members without revealing to them that he had AIDS. He also admitted to drug use and to the misuse of church funds.
Today, the judge ruled in the church's favor and ordered McFarland to turn over keys to the church, a church vehicle, and bank account information by 5 this afternoon. Joining us live from the church, WSFA 12 News reporter Tametria Conner first broke this story. And Tametria, is just a little after 5 as he complied with the judge's order?
Right. Well, Val, church leaders tell me Juan McFarland has fully complied with the judge's order. You can see the newer model Benz right behind me in the church parking lot. I understand that the Board of Trustees and the Deacon Board now have the car keys and the keys back to the church. And most importantly, they say Juan McFarland is gone. In fact, we can see him, if we could take a look at him now, leaving the church. He didn't stay long. He left actually in another Benz that, of course, is not owned by the church, with an unidentified female. Now, the Board of Trustees Chair Lee Sanford says their attorney did forward the judge's order over to Regions and Wells Fargo so bank officials can transfer those names back and the funds that McFarland had removed and placed in another account. The Deacon Board is thrilled to have access again, and they are already in the works or have plans in place for this Sunday.
Yes, we haven't had a chance actually to go through the church in 2 weeks. This is our first time. And so we will do a walk around, ask the leaders of the Deacon Board and the Trustee Board to make sure that everything is intact. But we have not had a chance to do that. We were discussing the transition, the turnover of the keys and things with him at this meeting.
The other co-defendant in this case, Mark Peacock, who was the parliamentarian of this church, he actually withdrew his membership of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church during the hearing. So as a result, he was automatically removed from this lawsuit. Coming up at 6, we'll hear from some of the members, of course, who are elated about this victory. They were inside the courtroom, and we will have reaction coming up at 6. Val?
All right. Thanks a lot, Tametria. And there is a lot more to this story. We've been following the details since it first broke. Go to WSFA.com for the full story and interviews. A Montgomery pastor blocked from his church following a sex scandal. I'm Valerie Lawson. Mark is on assignment. Today, a judge temporarily banned the Reverend Juan McFarland from Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. He was told to turn over his church keys and car within the last hour. WSFA 12 News defender Tametria Conner broke this story. She was in the courtroom today, and Tametria, the big question everyone wants to know is, did Reverend McFarland meet that 5 o'clock deadline?
Well, Val, Juan McFarland did meet that deadline, fully complying with the judge's order. The Mercedes-Benz is parked. Of course, the Deacon Board and the Board of Trustees now have access back. They have all the keys to the church, the vehicle, of course, and the judge's order was also sent to Regions Bank and Wells Fargo Bank so that McFarland's name could be removed, those funds be restored, and the names be put back on the account.
I mean, it's a pretty complete victory, really. Victory for truth, justice, and Christian virtue, really.
Members of the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church say those are the principles they were standing on as they went into court praying the judge would rule in their favor.
It is going to be a wonderfully happy Sunday, and we're going to shout the joys to the heavens in our church because we've wanted to be there for so long a period of time. And I thank you, Jesus, for this opportunity. God is truly able.
The deacon board and trustees returned to the church for the first time, now with access and forgiveness in their hearts.
We will move in a studied fashion in doing a search for a new pastor. During the interim period of time, we had a very capable associate pastor who was also dismissed by Reverend McFarland when this started out. He will maintain regular Sunday service until such time as we complete our search.
McFarland is seen driving away from Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, possibly for the last time, after serving 23 years as pastor. A restraining order is in effect, so McFarland cannot return to the property. Members are excited about this Sunday's worship service, and as Deacon Williams put it, service will be in full force. Val?
All right, thanks a lot, Tametria. And if you would like to learn more about this story, go to the homepage of WSFA.com.
This morning was the first official service at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church without ousted Pastor Juan McFarland. WSFA 12 News was invited to attend today's service. Associate Pastor Reverend Arthur Green addressing the crowd that packed the sanctuary with a sermon about keeping your joy in the midst of difficult times. Last month, McFarland made a shocking confession that included he had AIDS and had slept with various church members without revealing that to them. He also admitted to the misuse of church funds and to the use of drugs. On Thursday, a judge ordered him to turn over the keys to the church, a church-owned vehicle, and access to church bank accounts. There is also a restraining order in effect, so McFarland cannot return to church property.
It's 4:08 in the Motor City. Now, we shared that story with you last week. We're going to Montgomery to check in with Tametria Conner, who is a reporter and anchor for WSFA TV 12 there in Montgomery. She anchors the news at 9 and news shows for that station on Saturday. Tametria, thanks for joining us here in Detroit. How are you this afternoon?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
You know, it's truly my pleasure. You know, normally in the Baptist church, well, everything's changed these days, but normally, and I don't know if there is maybe there's a new normal, I'm not sure, but traditionally in the Black Baptist Church, when the deacons or the board of trustees take a vote and make a decision, that generally becomes the law, if you will, for the church. I mean, whatever that decision is, that decision generally stands. This pastor, after having announced that he had misused funds at time, that he had slept with women on the church property, as well as the fact that he has AIDS, after being voted out, he's still showing up on a Sunday morning to deliver the sermon and is being allowed to?
Yes, that is shocking. And as you mentioned, traditionally that does stand. This church is a part of the Baptist Association, which is based out of Nashville, Tennessee. And the deacon that I've been speaking with, Deacon Nathan Williams Jr., and of course I broke this story last week, as you mentioned, he said that the bylaw states that the majority of the membership controls the operations of the church. Therefore, a vote should stand. However, I'm the only one who has been able to speak exclusively with Pastor McFarland on the phone or via text messages. And when I asked him, even before the vote, would he step down on account of the revelations that he, when he got up and confessed everything that he's done, and also his visibly failing health. I mean, he's just not in a position to physically do his pastoral duties. And he said no, that he would not step down. So the attorney has said that he seems to have this type of dictatorship about him, as well as other members. So a lot of people are not shocked by his unwillingness to step down. And of course, that's why the church has obtained legal counsel, because they said that the court system seems to be the only way that they will be able to take back control of the church.
This is such an interesting story. Most pastors, and we've seen this happen before in churches where something goes awry and the majority of the membership decide they no longer want that pastor to serve. And he packs his bags and he moves on. Sure. This case is different. What do you make of the content of your conversation with him? What ground is he standing on? Is he standing on spiritual ground as he makes this decision?
It seems to be a mixture of both spiritual and the fact that he's dying. Again, from my observations, from actually seeing him, and I have done several reports, not here in Montgomery, but I was actually one of 12 journalists nationwide selected to specifically report on an AIDS conference at the United Nations. Just with my experience with interviewing and talking with AIDS patients, he seems to be on his last leg. So it seems to be that he just wanted to get out, things that he had kept secret all of this time. And I didn't get a sense of remorse or a sense of, can you give me an explanation as to why now? If you first contracted HIV in 2003, then you say you had AIDS in 2008. Why today, in 2014, what is pushing you to do that? He was not forthcoming with that information. He just seemed to just want to get on with confessing and then kind of give you this, convoluted perception that divine healing would take place without him taking his medication, and that somehow the church is just supposed to be accepting of this and I guess move forward. But it was kind of, confusing, a shock factor. A lot of people are just not sure how they should feel and what they should do at this point.
He has ceased taking his medication.
He said that he was not going to. Yes, that is correct. He spoke about divine healing. He used several examples from the scripture where men had been healed suddenly. And so that's the kind of, that's why I said it's kind of like, okay, what are you trying to say, or what are you doing here? A lot of people were a little confused about that, but he seems to be mixing, some spirituality and biblical principles to, in a way, justify what he has done.
Tametria, any idea how old he is?
That I have not been able to confirm when I was on the phone with him. I do know that he has been pastor at the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church for 23 years. He was married twice and divorced twice. His stepson actually contacted me. I was off on yesterday, and that's why John O'Connor did the update. I wrote the information, but he actually fronted that update that you aired on your show. Mm-hmm. But the stepson actually contacted us, and he had some information that he wanted to share about, kind of why that situation with his mom didn't work out. And so I'm hoping to maybe learn some more personally about him. But, of course, as you mentioned, this has rocked not only the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, but this entire community and this nation. People worldwide, this has been center stage now and a topic of discussion. And at this point, it seems to be that Pastor McFarland is no longer speaking to any media professionals. And, in fact, it seems like I have been the only one that has been able to speak with him and to get him to confirm some of this information.
Well, kudos to you for breaking this story. It is a very, very important story. Now, I've got to ask you this because a lot of my listeners wanted to know last week. And is it Deacon Williams, the senior deacon, who's a former?
Yes.
Okay. Deacon Williams said when McFarland said he had sex with the women on church grounds, but not in the sanctuary, Williams said, what difference does it make? In your conversations with McFarland, did you ask him just where those trysts took place?
He did not, again, want to be forthcoming with the specific information. So, that kind of, I don't know if that can say, what that really says about his intentions for this, but he was not willing to share those specific details. But I would have to, you mentioned Deacon Williams' comment, what difference does it make? A lot of people are also asking that same question.
As long as it's on church grounds. What a great story to break. And to still have the exclusivity on it, let me just say that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You and anyone else who may be interested in the new developments, because new information is coming out every day. The attorney just filed a lawsuit this morning against him, and you touched on that. But this is obviously a fluid and developing story. I would encourage everyone to like my Facebook page, Tametria Conner, WSFA 12 News, to get the latest information on this again, story that has kind of taken precedent everywhere.
Yes, it has. Well, again, kudos to you for breaking the story and being the. See, I like that. I only want to talk to Mildred Gaddis. I'm not talking to anybody else. I've been living for one of those kind. Listen,
And I also send greetings from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. My mother is Peggy Scott and my dad is Gregory Conner. When I told them that I was going to be on your show, they indicated that you all were classmates. So I'm sending greetings, and I'm also a relative of Mayor Johnny Dupree.
Wait just a second. Gregory and my brother were best friends, and your grandmother used to be over the cafeteria when I was in elementary school.
Absolutely, that's right. Catherine Conner.
And Sheila is your aunt.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to send greetings. Isn't that something? I had no idea.
My goodness, and you're old. You're an adult now.
Yes,
you come from a
wonderful,
wonderful family.
Business over a decade now. So God be the glory.
I love your family. I love your dad. You make sure you tell Greg I said hi. Wow.
I sure will. And thank you again for this opportunity to share this information, and we will keep you updated.
Absolutely. Please. Thank you so much. You made my day.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, my dear.
Have a great
Take
remainder
care
of your day.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Tametria. Bye-bye.